to all my people out there, and welcome back. Today we want to talk about the coronavirus and herd immunity. And everybody's talking about herd immunity for one thing. So that's like when enough of the population has immunity, then the other people are protected. And I have a little illustration here to kind of show that. Let's say that we have the red people, the blue people, and the green people. And the green people would be the ones who already have the coronavirus, who have already developed immunity. The red people would be the hot ones who are sick now. The blue ones, let's say, they're the ones that could get it at any minute. And when you see we're surrounded by enough green people, then it's harder for the blue and the red to get together. And that's the basic premise for herd immunity, which was actually a theory. It was a hypothesis by a researcher back in the 30s about measles, and this was A.W. Hedrick. And A.W. Hedrick said that if the measles in the population, the measles rate fell below 68%, that we would have a measles epidemic, a measles outbreak. So that was the numbers he came up with back in the 30s. Of course, that's been that theory has been updated and modified, and some models now say that it's 80%. If we have an 80% natural immunity in the community, that we will not have an epidemic or an outbreak of a virus. Not particularly talking about the COVID-19, but viruses in general, specifically the measles virus. Now, the vaccination model shows that you have to have between 90 and 95% vaccination to prevent an outbreak. And what you see on a lot of the measles outbreaks year to year is that a certain percentage of these people have had one or more measles vaccines. And another problem, just a problem, if you will, with vaccines in general is some of these vaccines, when the child gets the vaccine, when the adult gets the vaccine, they actually shed the virus. There's not many of these vaccines have the live virus in them. And I don't know what the COVID-19 virus the vaccination will have. I have not a clue. I've seen a little bit of what they're working on, but I just don't know. So, wow, 95% vaccination in the population, that's a big order. So with viruses, you go by a basic reproduction number. So like with measles, one measles case can infect 10 people. It's actually, I think it's more like, I'm sorry, it's not 10, it's 12 to 18 people for measles. So let's just call it 12. And for chickenpox, one infected chickenpox can infect 10 people. And then you go down through different viruses all the way to the COVID-19. Actually, all the coronavirus are about a 2.1. So one person infects about 2.1 people. And then with the flu, you actually have a 1.3 in your basic reproduction number. So one person with the flu infects 1.3 people. So the COVID-19 is a little more virulent, so to speak, than the flu, and it does travel faster. And we just don't know how many people have had it, how many people haven't had it. And we won't know till we have a good serology, which is blood serum test, to see what the immune titers were. Interestingly, last week I helped manage a naturopathic nurse down in the Phoenix area, and I'm one of her clinical people and clinical directors. And we had a test that came up, and it was it cost like $100. And when we had the test come out on Wednesday, Friday, the company, the laboratory that sold the test, sold out to another company, and they went 2.5 times the price. And all of a sudden, the price is $250. So there's a lot of young problems with the serology test. Hopefully it all comes out for anybody who wants at any time can get it, and hopefully it won't cost. I would love to see that because I kind of think that I'm pretty determined that I myself and my son here at home, my wife, and my grandkids, son-in-law, daughter, we've all had this thing about 4 weeks ago. We had all the classic symptoms, but none of us were in danger of dying, so we couldn't get tested. And the only way to get tested was to go to the emergency room, and then your chances of dying when you get to the emergency room go up exponentially. So we just didn't even go there. But sooner or later, we're going to have this test available, and I will be curious to see what our immune titers are. I will be curious to see what your immune titers are. And as we do these tests around Phoenix, I'm curious to see how many people who think they have it haven't had it, and how many people who don't know if they've had it have actually had it. I want to see what the percentages are. I'm very, very curious about that. One of the big questions I keep getting asked is, well, if you've had it once, can you have it again? And the answer is technically yes. People actually, like you take the chickenpox, for example, you can have a second bout of chickenpox. It's very rare. Okay, I would say it's extremely rare. And some of the reasons for a second bout of chickenpox would be that you had your first case before you were 6 months old, before your immune system developed its own autonomy, so to speak. Maybe your first case of chickenpox was extremely mild. And I think this might apply to the coronavirus too. Or maybe you had a weak immune system when you got the chickenpox the first time and you didn't develop an immunity. Or maybe your immune system gets whacked, like people who are doing chemotherapy or immune suppressing drugs and some of these things, then they are at risk for re-exposure to many different things. So that is one of the questions. Someone asked, well, how come there's no herd immunity with tetanus? Well, tetanus is not a contact or an airborne, well, it is a contact, but it's not an airborne virus spread from person to person. It's a bacteria that lives in the soil, especially around horse poop. So people in Kentucky get it a lot more than people in New York City. And to go get a DTaP shot every time you get a paper cut, just a little bit far gone. I guess maybe if you're working with horses, you might consider that, at least do some research about it. I highly recommend making informed decisions about any of this. And then the last question I want to deal with is people keep saying, well, I take my vitamin C so I can prevent the coronavirus with that. I take my vitamin A, I take my vitamin D, right? I'm taking my zinc so I can prevent coronavirus. Well, vitamin C will not prevent coronavirus. Only your immune system can whip coronavirus. And taking these vitamins will support your immune system. So if you do get coronavirus, if you do get a cold, if you do get the flu, even if you get tetanus, if you get any of these pathogens, your immune system will be stronger and more able and more ready to fight them. So that's my little chat for this morning, and I hope you all are safe. And as we hunker down and as we prepare to start to come out of this time where we are sequestered, and just a small observation, one thing I've noticed is that I've got more time to do the things I said I would do if I had more time. But some of those things I still don't want to do. So it's kind of the toss-up between I have more time, but I really didn't want to do it in the first place. So if you have the same conundrum, God bless you. And we will see you again in a few days. In a few days, I want to talk about the lonelies. All right? So have a safe time.